Introduced in June 1955, 3 years before the laying of Britain's first motorway, Motorail was British Railway's answer to the traffic-jammed, stress-filled and tedious business of long-distance car travel. Motorail allowed its passengers to travel in style and comfort, safe in the knowledge that both they and their cars would arrive at their destination ahead of time and well rested. Establishing an exact date that the service started is difficult due to an engine man strike taking place that summer, affecting both Motorail and normal services nationwide. Starting from 1955, the service was advertised by British Railways as a car-carrying service, up until the opening of the new Motorail terminal at Kensington Olympia Station on the 24th of May 1966, alongside the rebranding of the service itself to Motorail. The new station featured 3 covered car loading platforms and was the first dedicated Motorail station in the world, being the chosen location due to its connection with all of Britain's major railway arteries. Originally using converted coaching stock with access from the rear, with the opening of the Kensington Olympia terminus came a CarTac 4 open double-decker, first used on the Kensington to Perth Motorail service from the 22nd of June 1966. The wagons had originally been designed for the transportation of new vehicles from Ford's car factories, however were transferred to Motorail services with the opening of the Kensington Olympia station. The CarTac 4 was a revolutionary system to the problem of transporting cars by rail, with loading of earlier double-decker trials being slow and cumbersome. The new CarTac 4 was a set of 4 semi-permanently coupled wagons, with decks that dip between the bogies, allowing greater clearance within the standard British Rail loading gauge. More importantly, they could be loaded by simply driving vehicles on, with gaps between the wagons covered by flaps during the loading process. Their only design requirement was a high-level loading ramp alongside the normal platform height at Motorail terminals. Each set of CarTac 4s was around 200 feet long and capable of carrying up to 30 cars, with larger cars able to be loaded in the middle of the upper deck. The CarTac 4s were used until their retirement in 1978, whereby they were pressed into the delivery of new vehicles once again, finally being retired by 1988. With their retirement in 1978, Motorail saw its fleet return once more to more conventional converted carriage and flatbed stock. A bygone piece of history is that Motorail was not the first dedicated transport system of motor vehicles in Britain, being beaten to the punch by the L&ER in 1935, when they introduced your Take Your Car by L&ER service, charging 3D by the mile on single and outbound journeys and 3.5D per return journey. Interestingly, in October 1963, British Rail introduced the Imp Express to carry 100 cars at a time overnight from the Hillman Roots factory in Linwood to the Midlands. These services were also replicated by the likes of Ford and British Leyland. By 1957, the service operated between the stations of Cambridge, Colchester, Darlington, Doncaster, Grantham, Hull, Ipswich, Leeds, Lincoln, Newcastle, Norwich, Peterborough, Sheffield and York, but over time had expanded further to cover Scotland, serving all the way to Inverness, South Wales, the West Country, Fishguard Harbour for Ireland, Kensington Olympia and Dover for all those travelling to the continent. Eventually, a short-lived service from London to Glasgow was added for a brief time in the early 1990s. It is worth noting that all stations were served at all points in the service's history, and by the late 1980s, British Rail had started to already cut services to certain destinations, notably with the withdrawal of the London to Scotland route in 1988, the first to go being London to Stirling. For much of its life, the service had operated at a significant financial loss, and with the privatisation of British Rail taking place between 1994 and 1997, the BR bosses decided to seize the services in 1955, bringing closure to 40 years of Motorail history. But not for long. In September 1999, First Great Western took the opportunity to launch a rebranded Motorail service to occupy its Night Riviera overnight sleeper service. Kensington Olympia Motorail Terminal itself closed in 1981, losing its status as London's main motorail terminus, with services being transferred to Euston, Paddington and King's Cross. Since then, the car park has become a place for exhibition vehicles and by Europacar for car rental services, receiving the name Olympia Motorail Car Park 4. One notable incident in the history of Motorail is the crash at Knowle and Dorridge on August 15, 1963, involving a shunting operation by a pannier tank moving a hopper wagon and two bogie flat cars. One of these was loaded with Land Rovers and inadvertently was shunted into the path of a recently introduced Blue Pullman Express, on this occasion being hauled by a Class 52 Western, number 1040 Western Queen. Caused by a signalman error, the express hit the flat car at a speed of 20 miles an hour, crushing Western Queen's driving cab and killing both her driver and second man. Notably, this service was usually hauled by the Metro Camel Blue Pullman locomotive, but on this occasion had been taken out of service due to technical issues, and so the Class 50 had stepped in. Of course, Motorail has lived on through the Eurotunnel, with services connecting British drivers to France and the wider continent. A fond memory in the eyes of many who used it, Motorail has long since been forgotten from the network, with only the occasional carriage or station ramp to intrigue the modern railway goer into the existence of the once popular system. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this episode of Off the Rails, why not leave a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss future videos.